If you've been paying attention lately, you've probably heard from a lot of people that software is dying and that AI is going to destroy everything. And that is fundamentally wrong. And I want to break down exactly why it's wrong and what you can really take away from it. So first of all, let's talk about what the argument is. So one of the things people will point out is just like this chart here, the software meltdown. And they'll go through and they'll show you how all of these companies are tanking with their stock prices. And this is true. There are a lot of problems when you look at the trajectory of many of the big players in software. So like if you look at Adobe, for example, here on the list, they're down, 34.58% year to date. Atlassian down 63.76%. Monday.com down 57.81%. And a lot of companies are affected. Now, here's the thing though. First off, there's a difference between short-term stock prices and a reevaluation of the risk potential of these companies and the actual fundamentals of a software business. So historically, software has enjoyed really high price to earnings ratios, and now they're down around the average of, if you look at like the S&P 500, it's usually between 15 and 25 on average for the price to earnings ratio. And so a lot of these software companies are being reevaluated at around those levels, right? The ones that are profitable, that are established, like Monday.com, for example, is now 27.98 price to earnings ratio. And if you look at, let's take, for example, Adobe, 13.38, so a little weaker. Adobe's had a lot of problems for a while now, and AI is just one of them. But some of them are still getting pretty good price to earnings ratios. Like DocuSign, even though they're down 34% this year, they're still at a 30.64 price to earnings ratio, which is still quite respectable. Some other companies, Workday, for example, 43.78. So that's quite respectable. Autodesk, 42.28, quite respectable. Zoom is interesting. Zoom still only at a 13.59 price to earnings ratio, but they're only down a little bit this year, 2.67%. Cloudflare only down 3.64%. So here's the thing though, is I don't think that this argument justifies the position that software is melting. And let's just look at the first principles of this issue and see some other examples here. So let's check out a recent move that Salesforce made. So Salesforce recently announced what they call Salesforce Headless 360. So they're opening up all the Salesforce data, including all of their agents and the Slack platforms, as APIs, MCP, and CLI. So if you don't know what that means, it just means that AI, for our purpose of our discussion, it just means that AI systems can access it directly. So you could have an AI agent that's running or a simple chatbot that's connected to Salesforce, and you can just ask it questions, and you don't even have to be within the Salesforce ecosystem. So I could just connect it to my Claude, for example, and ask Claude, hey, analyze these last few deals. What's on the table today? Look at my top customers and find some commonalities between them in the deal flow, whatever I want to ask. And it can basically query Salesforce as a data platform and give me the answer. And this is a really great illustration where two things are happening at once. One is that, yes, the software moat in many ways is evaporating. You can't count on vendor lock-in as much as you used to, but at the same time, there's still a major benefit to a lot of these platforms. So if you open up your platform to the AI world in the way that Salesforce has, you get all the advantages that anybody can use AI and access your system, but you can still potentially win on being a better UI when they need it. Because a lot of users, they might like the luxury of being able to access the system just with a simple bot directly from their Claude without having to change workflows right from where they're already working. But they also still want to go in and see the Salesforce dashboards and use that tool for lots of different reasons. And so Yes, this can affect a short-term stock price because from an investor standpoint, okay, we no longer can count on them having such a commanding dominance in vendor lock-in, especially in retention. People can leave easier because you can bring the data off, you can build your own system in your company, or a competitor could build something really quickly. So, okay, that can be a reality. But at the same time, there's also a lot of uncertainty, by the way, which causes a lot of these problems and this could go away in the medium long term. These stocks could recover. But at the same time, fundamentally, the business can still succeed at a really big level. And I don't see why this has to affect startups. And I want to show one more example, which I think illustrates it really well, because some people argue that UI is going to completely disappear and everything's going to be done through an app. But there are a lot of cases where UI is a simply superior experience. So somebody did a little look here, Max Weinbach, at ordering on Starbucks through ChatGPT. And what they find is that they're just trying to place a simple order through ChatGPT, and it's connected to the Starbucks system, and they go to order and it takes them 103 seconds to place their order versus the Starbucks app takes 19 seconds. So I think this illustrates where I think the world is headed, where you are going to have more and more systems opening up integrations directly with chat, with Claude, with whatever AI bots you want to use, because there is a use case for that. I can be chatting to my GPT. I can say, listen, I'm kind of thirsty right now. What should I have? I can talk about my fitness plan, my goals, my dieting, all this stuff that it knows about me and kind of talk through what I want. And then eventually I can say, listen, I think I'm going to order Starbucks, and it can place that order for me. So that's a nice user experience. But at the same time, if I already know that I want to order a specific thing from Starbucks, why am I opening up ChatGPT when I could open up the Starbucks app and do it in a few seconds? Now you could answer, well, listen, people don't want to download another app. And there is some truth to that. But my point is this, right? That software is not disappearing. Good UI is not disappearing. And even more so, the LLMs themselves will eventually become commoditized, and the people that can build the software layer on top of them are going to be in a better position to win the majority of the value that's created in the AI era than companies that only are model companies and try to build software on top of that. That's for another video. So if you enjoyed this, give me a follow, give me a comment, and check me out in the next one.